The weight of heroism. It's a burden we all carry, but sometimes it feels heavier than usual.
That was rough. 6 shootings in 2 weeks? It's getting out of control.
This isn't normal. 6 shootings in 2 weeks? What's going on? It's like there's this massive influx of illegal guns on the streets, and every time we stop one, 2 more pop up somewhere else.
It's more than just criminals getting their hands on guns. It feels organized, like someone's supplying them, knowing exactly how to avoid the authorities. These people are too well armed and too well coordinated to just be random thugs.
I'm all for stopping crime, but we're burning out. Every day it's something new. It's starting to feel like a losing battle.
We're heroes, but we're not invincible. I've been around long enough to know when something's off. This isn't just about some criminals with illegal guns. It's about something bigger. Someone's behind this.
Yeah, and we're getting tired. I don't know how much longer we can keep going like this before something snaps. We need a break, but crime doesn't stop.
I love what we do, helping people, fighting crime, but I'm starting to wonder if we're just putting out fires without ever stopping what's starting them.
We need to figure out who's behind this. There's someone or something organizing this surge of illegal weapons. We need to get ahead of it before more people get hurt.
We're good at fighting crime, but we need to find the source. Maybe if we dig into where these guns are coming from, we can cut this problem off before it gets worse.
We're not in over our heads. We've faced worse threats, but this is different. It's draining because it's constant, and we don't have the luxury of taking breaks when people's lives are at stake.
I love being part of the Hero League, we all do, but it's a bit much sometimes. How are we supposed to keep up with this pace? Do you think we're in over our heads? This rise in gun violence? We've never dealt with something this constant before.
Yeah, but where do we even start? Every time we stop one criminal, another one pops up. It's like they're multiplying.
I don't know, but if we keep going at this pace, we're gonna burn out before we even have a chance to figure it out.
Maybe we need to bring this to Connor and Carl. Let them know what we're seeing. If this is organized, if someone's flooding the streets with illegal weapons, we need help. Maybe there's more to this than we're seeing.
I think you're right. If this is part of something bigger, we need the full resources of the Hero League behind us. We can't do this alone.
Let's take this upstairs. We need answers, and I think it's time we got them.
Not again. We were just about to go talk to Carl and Connor.
Let me guess, another shooting?
Yep, another one. This time it's a massage parlor in Hammond, Louisiana. A massage parlor. What is wrong with people? The shooter is an angry client who doesn't want to pay for his massage. It's a small, family-owned place. Looks like this guy brought a gun in and things escalated fast.
So now we're dealing with people who think they can shoot up a business over a bill? This is getting ridiculous.
It doesn't matter how annoying it is. We've got a job to do. Get suited up.
We were this close to finally getting some answers.
I know, but this is our reality right now. Another shooting, another gun on the streets. We've got to stop this before anyone gets hurt.
It's not even about big-time villains anymore. We're dealing with everyday people losing their minds. It's not sustainable.
I know it's frustrating, but we've got to deal with it. These are lives at stake.
Let's just handle this. Hopefully it'll be quick.
We can't keep putting out fires like this. Sooner or later, we've got to deal with what's really causing all these shootings. You're right. But first, let's make sure this guy in Louisiana doesn't take any more innocent lives.
We're almost there. Let's make this quick, and then we'll get back to Carl and Connor.
The van screeched to a halt in front of the small, dimly lit massage parlor in Hammond, Louisiana. The group barely had time to process their surroundings before they were moving. Thanks to Mr. Rentz's supersonic driving, they had arrived within seconds. As soon as they stepped out of the van, they could hear the sounds of an argument inside, the shooter's voice booming angrily. Colton led the way, pushing the door open cautiously. Inside, the scene was tense. A burly man was standing near the front counter, waving a gun in the face of the terrified receptionist. His face was twisted in rage, shouting about how he wasn't going to pay for his massage, his finger dangerously close to the trigger. Receptionist: "Please, just calm down, we can—" "Colton, that's enough. Drop the gun and step away from her. You don't want to escalate this." "Gunman, what the hell do you think you're gonna do? This isn't your business." "Zach, we don't want to hurt you, but if you don't put the gun down, we won't give you a choice." "Gunman, I'm not scared of you freaks." "Mr. Rentz, trust me, you should be." The tension in the room skyrocketed, and in a split second the gunman raised his weapon, aiming directly at Colton. Before he could fire, Zach's telekinesis sprang into action, gripping the gun and yanking it to the side. The shot went wide, embedding into the wall instead of hitting its intended target. Colton, you don't want to do this. You're outnumbered and outmatched. But the gunman wasn't giving up that easily. With a growl of defiance, he lunged for the gun again. Zach's telekinesis pushed him back, but he was relentless, determined to regain control of the situation. Okay, stop. You've got one chance to cooperate. We don't want to kill you, but we're not afraid to hurt you if we have to. Fine. I'll talk. You're going to answer a few questions. First of all, why'd you do this? And more importantly, where did you get the gun? I didn't want to pay for the damn massage. Figured if I scared him enough, they'd just let me walk out. Didn't think you freaks would show up. We're not interested in your excuses. Where did you get the gun? I bought it off a guy, some dealer. He's been selling guns around town for a while now, I swear. I didn't know he was dealing illegal stuff until after I bought it. Who is this dealer? We need a name. I don't know his real name. They just call him Big Red. He's a big guy, tattoos, runs an underground gun ring out of some warehouse near the docks. That's all I know, I swear. Big Red. We've got a lead. You're lucky we showed up before you did something you couldn't take back, but this isn't over. You're going to jail and we're going to track down this Big Red. If you're lying to us, we'll find out. I'm not lying, just please don't kill me. Let's get him into custody and report back. Looks like we've got another lead to follow. We're getting closer to figuring out who's behind all these guns. Let's make sure this lead pays off. As the group walked out of the massage parlor, preparing to head back to the van with the gunmen now in custody, Colton's sharp ears caught the faint sound of a woman crying. It was soft, almost drowned out by the noise of the street and their own footsteps, but unmistakable. Colton, you guys go on ahead to the van, I'll catch up. There's someone still inside. Zach, you sure? We've got to get this guy into custody. Colton, yeah, I'll be quick. Just go ahead, I'll meet you out front. The team walks out of the massage parlor. Colton pauses, hearing a woman crying. The team left the massage parlor, taking the gunman into custody and preparing to chase down the next thread in the growing web of illegal weapons flooding the streets. Colton moved quietly down the hallway, past the shattered glass and overturned furniture, until he reached a small, dimly lit room at the back of the building. There, curled up against one of the massage tables, was a young woman, her body trembling as she clung to the side of the bed. She was sobbing softly, clearly shaken by what had just happened. Her long dark hair fell around her face in disarray, and her hands were tightly gripping the fabric of her work uniform. Colton, hey, it's okay, he's gone. You're safe now. Emily, I was so scared. He didn't want to pay, and when I told him he couldn't just leave, he got so angry. I thought he was going to kill me. Colton, he won't hurt you anymore. We've taken care of him. He's in custody now. Emily, you did? Colton, yeah, my name's Colton. I was nearby when it happened, and I was able to help disarm him. Emily, you stopped him? Colton, yeah, he won't be coming back. You're safe now. Emily, thank you. Colton, no need to thank me. I'm just glad I was here when it happened. Colton, what's your name? Emily, I work here. I gave him the massage before everything happened. Colton, nice to meet you, Emily. I'm glad I could help. Look, I know you've had a rough night, but would you like to go out to dinner sometime? I'd like to get to know you better if you're okay with that. Emily. Dinner? Colton. Yeah, just something normal after a night like this. Emily. Okay, I'd like that. Colton. Great, I'll give you my number and we can set something up when you're feeling better. Emily. Thank you again, Colton, for everything. Colton, anytime. As he headed back to the van, he couldn't help but feel like maybe, despite all the craziness they dealt with as heroes, there were still moments of normalcy to be found. Moments where they could be more than just protectors. Where they could be people too. Colton slipped back into the van, settling into his seat with a quiet grin playing on his lips. The others were already strapped in, waiting for him, but the mood was a little lighter after the intense mission. Mr. Rents hit the gas, and the van hummed to life, speeding off into the night as they headed back toward Hero League headquarters.
You look
weirdly happy for someone who just disarmed a guy with a machine gun. What's going on? Colton, nothing. Just something interesting happened in there.
Interesting? Do tell. Colton, so when we were wrapping up, I heard this woman crying in one of the massage rooms. She was terrified. She'd given the guy his massage right before he lost it and started threatening everyone. I went to check on her and, well, I guess I kind of asked her out.
You asked her out? Dude, we're in the middle of chasing down gunmen and you're over there setting up a date?
I mean, I knew you had guts, but asking someone out after a shooting, that's a new one.
Let me guess, you were all, hey, I just saved your life. Want to grab dinner sometime? Classic Colton. Colton. It wasn't like that. I don't know. She was really shaken up, and I felt bad for her. I was just trying to make her feel better, you know?
Yeah, because nothing says I'm here for you like a romantic dinner after a gunfight.
So you're going to have to explain this one day. If you end up marrying her, you'll realize your wedding story is going to be insane. How did you two meet? Oh, you know, I saved her from a gunman in the middle of a massage parlor. Not exactly traditional, man.
Yeah, you'll be telling your kids, well, kids, your mum was almost taken hostage, and that's when I knew I had to make a move. Colton, I know, it's not exactly the most family-friendly love story, but come on, it's not like I planned it. It just happened.
You know her family's going to be like, so how did you two meet? Was it at work? School? And you'll be like, no, it was during an armed robbery. That'll go over real well. Colton, you guys are the worst.
Hey man, we're just saying, if you do get serious with this girl, you've got the most insane wedding story ever. Imagine the reception speech to the happy couple who found love in the chaos of a shooting.
You'd better make sure she's cool with that, though. Some people might not appreciate the whole met during a near-death experience vibe. Colton? Yeah, okay, you guys have made your point.
Just make sure you invite us to the wedding, all right? I want front row seats to this legendary love story. Colton, don't worry. You'll be the first ones on the guest list.
The teasing continued for the rest of the ride, and even though the group was tired and worn out from the long night, the lighthearted banter kept the mood from sinking too much. For a brief moment, they weren't heroes rushing from one crisis to the next. They were just friends, laughing and teasing like any other group. As they pulled into Hero League headquarters, Mr. Rentz turned to Colton one last time with a smirk.
Just make sure you invite us to the wedding, all right? I want front row seats to this legendary love story. Colton, don't worry. You'll be the first ones on the guest list.
The group headed inside, still chuckling as they made their way back to their quarters. Despite the chaos of their lives, it was moments like this, moments of humor and friendship, that kept them grounded in the middle of all the madness. And even though they had a long road ahead of them, for tonight at least they could enjoy a little bit of normalcy, even if it came with a side of teasing. The group made their way down the dimly lit hallways of the Hero League headquarters basement, chatting casually as they headed toward the freezer to grab some well-earned drumstick ice cream cones. The air was cooler down here, the hum of the containment cells filling the space with an eerie quiet. Colton was still grinning from the teasing he'd received in the van, but the conversation had shifted back to business. Zach, always focused, was deep in thought.
So, who do you think this Big Red is? He's running a serious operation. These guns aren't just falling off the back of a truck.
He's got to be connected to something bigger. No one just steals illegal guns without a plan. There's got to be money, power, or something else behind it.
And it doesn't make sense for him to be moving this many weapons just for small-time crime. There's more going on here.
Hey, you guys going to ignore me now? You remember me, don't you?
What do you want, Thomas?
You know, I've been keeping tabs on things from in here. Word travels, even in these cells. You guys are looking for Big Red, right?
Yeah? And what do you know about it?
Oh, I know more than you'd think. I know exactly who Big Red is, and I know where you can find him.
Why would you help us?
Let's just say I'm feeling generous. Maybe I don't like the idea of this Big Red taking over the streets with all his shiny new toys. Maybe I've got something to gain from giving you a little nudge in the right direction. Colton? And you just expect us to trust you? After everything you've pulled? Look, you don't have to trust me, but you want Big Red, and I know where he's hiding. You can take the info or leave it. Your call.
And what do you want in return?
Oh, nothing big. Just, you know, a little consideration. Maybe you mentioned to Connor and Carl that I've been cooperative. Might help me out when it comes to my parole hearing. Colton, if we find out you're lying, this conversation never happened. I'm not lying. You want to find Big Red? You'll need to head to the old warehouse near the docks. That's where he's been setting up shop. Just don't say I didn't warn you. He's not the kind of guy you take down easily.
You think he's telling the truth?
Could be. Thomas might be a lot of things, but he's smart. He knows how to survive, and giving us Big Red might be his way of staying relevant.
It's a lead, and it's better than what we've got right now.
Let's finish grabbing those ice creams and head upstairs. We've got to talk to Connor and Carl about this.
And maybe tell them we're taking tips from the criminals now. They all chuckled at that, but the gravity of the situation lingered. They had a lead, and if Thomas was right, Big Red was about to have some unexpected company at his warehouse. The group made their way through the halls of Hero League headquarters, still nibbling on their drumstick ice cream cones as they headed toward Connor's office. The cold sweetness of the ice cream was a nice distraction from the heavy conversation they'd just had with Thomas, but the weight of the potential lead still lingered in the back of their minds.
We ran into another shooter, massage parlor in Hammond, Louisiana. Angry guy didn't want to pay for his massage, pulled a gun. We disarmed him, no casualties.
We got him to talk. He said the gun came from a dealer named Big Red. Apparently this guy's been flooding the streets with illegal weapons. We were planning to come up here and fill you in.
That's what we were thinking. Even if Thomas is lying, we can't risk missing out on the opportunity.
Yep, he says he knows who Big Red is and where to find him.
Thomas isn't exactly the most trustworthy source, but if this is the first real lead you've got, we can't afford to ignore it. He said we can find Big Red in an old warehouse by the docks. Says that's where he's been setting up shop. You're right. If Thomas is telling the truth, this could be our chance to shut down this whole operation. We'll need to check it out, and fast.
You had to see that coming, man. Even Connor's got jokes.
Colton's already thinking about the honeymoon.
Hey, I'm just saying, you're going to have an interesting story to tell at that wedding one day. You disarmed a gunman, asked her out right after. Classic hero move.
But first, let's talk about this date you've got lined up. Oh, come on, not you two. All right, enough with the teasing. I asked her out, that's it. No wedding plans yet.
We're ready. We'll check out the warehouse tonight, see what we can find.
In all seriousness though, focus on the mission. If Thomas is giving you real intel, we need to take it seriously. The surge in illegal guns is getting worse, and every day we're seeing more violence. We need to find out if Big Red is behind this, and stop him before it gets completely out of hand. Good. Be careful. If this Big Red is as dangerous as the gunman made him sound, you're going to be walking into a hornet's nest. Stick together, and don't do anything reckless. Got it. No recklessness. We'll just casually stroll into a gun dealer's hideout. Stay sharp. And if things go south, don't hesitate to call for backup. With that, the group exchanged a final glance, all of them ready to shift back into action mode. The teasing had lightened the mood, but they knew what lay ahead was serious. They had a lead now, one that could break the case wide open. As they left Connor's office and headed toward the exit, the weight of the mission began to settle over them. They were about to confront one of the biggest threats they had faced in weeks, and if Big Red was as dangerous as they suspected, this mission could be the one to finally put an end to the surge of violence. But first, they had to survive it.
It was a warm Louisiana evening as Colton stepped out of Mr. Rentz's van, his nerves a little more rattled than they had been when fighting gunmen just a few days ago. He smoothed down his jacket, watching as Mr. Rentz gave him a supportive thumbs up from the driver's seat before pulling away. Colton stood outside the small, cozy chicken restaurant for a moment, taking a deep breath before heading inside. The scent of fried chicken and spices hit him immediately as he walked through the door, and the familiar warmth of the place settled his nerves a little. He scanned the room, spotting Emily seated at a small table against the back wall near the window. She was wearing a light dress, her long hair cascading over her shoulders as she fiddled with the menu in her hands. When she looked up and saw him, she smiled, and Colton felt a wave of relief. He made his way to the table, his own smile growing wider as he sat down across from her. Colton asked, "Hey, you've been waiting long." Emily replied, "No, not at all, just got here myself." A waitress approaches their table. Waitress, can I get you two something to drink? Emily. I'll have a root beer. Colton. I'll take a Dr. Pepper, please. Emily and Colton exchange a few words about their drink choices. Emily. Root beer! Colton. Dr. Pepper's my go-to, though. I'm kind of obsessed with it. Emily. Oh, really? What's so special about Dr. Pepper? Colton explains his love for Dr. Pepper. Colton, it's the mix of flavors. I don't know, there's something about it that's just different. Plus, it goes with pretty much anything. Emily, I guess I can see that. I'm a root beer girl, though, the right mix of sweet and smooth, but I'm willing to give Dr. Pepper a pass. They both laughed, the conversation flowing easily as they moved on to discussing their favorite foods. Emily talking about her love for gumbo, while Colton confessed his weakness for anything barbecue. As they waited for their food, the conversation naturally shifted toward what had happened a few days ago at the massage parlor. Emily's face grew a little more serious as she toyed with her napkin, the memory clearly still fresh in her mind. Emily said, that day at the parlor, I still can't believe it happened. Honestly, I thought I wasn't going to make it out of there. Colton responded, yeah, it was pretty intense, but I'm glad I was there when it all went down. Emily continued, you really were. I don't think I've ever been that scared in my life, but you were so calm through the whole thing. I don't know how you did it. Colton replied, I guess I just reacted. When you're in a situation like that, you don't have time to think too much. You just do what feels right. Emily said, well, whatever you did, it worked. You saved me. I can't thank you enough. Colton replied, you don't have to thank me. I'm just glad you're okay. Their drinks arrived then, interrupting the serious tone for a moment, and they both took a sip of their orders. Emily then asked, I know this might sound weird, but do you think something like that will happen again? I mean, with all the craziness in the world. Colton responded, I hope not, but I think it's always good to be prepared, you know? You can't predict when these things will happen, but you can do your best to stay safe. Emily nodded and said, yeah, I guess you're right. It's just hard to shake it off. Well, I'm here now, and I promise tonight's going to be way less exciting than that. Good. I think I've had enough excitement for 1 week. As their food arrived and the conversation continued, Colton found himself enjoying the evening more than he expected. There was something about Emily's warmth and sincerity that drew him in, making him forget, if only for a moment, the chaos of his double life. For now, he was just Colton. No superpowers, no villains to fight, just a guy enjoying a date with someone who made him smile. Colton found himself more captivated by Emily than he had expected. As the conversation flowed between them, he couldn't help but notice her natural beauty, her long dark hair, her bright eyes, and the easy smile that seemed to light up her face. She was confident, charming, and genuine, but he worked hard to stay focused on the conversation rather than letting his gaze wander too much. He wanted to be respectful, especially on their first date. Emily was talking about her job at the massage parlor and how she'd fallen into the role almost by accident, and Colton nodded, listening intently. As much as he found her attractive, he was even more drawn to her personality, the way she opened up so easily, making him feel comfortable in the conversation. Colton? Colton, huh? Sorry, what were you saying? Emily. I was asking what you like to do for fun when you're not, saving people from crazed gunmen in massage parlors. Colton. Well, I'm actually really into music. It's something I've always loved. I play guitar, mostly acoustic, but I've messed around with electric a bit too. Emily. Oh, wow, that's amazing. I've always admired people who can play an instrument. How long have you been playing? Colton. Since I was a kid, it's kind of my escape. Whenever things get too intense, I just pick up the guitar and start playing. It helps me relax, Emily. That's so cool. Do you write your own songs, or do you mostly cover stuff? Colton, a little of both. I've written a few songs, but I like covering my favorite bands too. Music it makes everything feel better. Emily. I totally get that. I'm not much of a musician myself, but I love listening to music. It's my go-to when I need to unwind. Emily, so who are your favorite bands? Colton. Oh man, where do I even start? I'm a big fan of a lot of classic rock, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, stuff like that, but I've been getting into more acoustic indie music lately too. Time code 00041000000042000. Emily. That's awesome. I'm more of an alternative rock kind of girl, but I can appreciate a good acoustic set. Maybe you could play for me sometime. Colton. Yeah, maybe I could. Narrator. VO. As they continued to talk, Colton found himself more and more fascinated by Emily, not just because of her beauty, but because of how she made him feel at ease. For once, he wasn't thinking about the Hero League, secret identities, or dangerous missions. He was just Colton, a guy on a date with someone who intrigued him. And for now, that was more than enough. As the evening wound down, Colton and Emily shared one last laugh over a light-hearted story about their favorite childhood meals. The restaurant had thinned out, leaving only a few patrons lingering over their meals. The soft glow of the overhead lights cast a cozy atmosphere over their table, and Colton found himself wishing the night didn't have to end. Eventually, though, they both knew it was time to leave. They stood up, gathering their things, and Colton held the door open as they stepped out into the warm Louisiana night. The air was still and the stars above flickered faintly in the sky. Colton turned to Emily, his heart racing just a bit as he glanced at her. She smiled at him, the same warm, genuine smile that had made him feel so at ease all night. Without overthinking it, he leaned in, gently pressing his lips to hers for a brief, soft kiss. Emily, smiling, said, "I wasn't expecting that." Colton, smiling back, replied, I couldn't help myself." Emily said, "Well, I didn't mind." They exchanged a few more words, arranging to see each other again soon, before Emily waved goodbye and disappeared into the night. Colton watched her leave, feeling a sense of excitement bubbling up inside him. As he turned and walked to where Mr. Rents was waiting in the van, his mind couldn't help but drift back to the brief kiss.